Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. My name is David Breer, and welcome to episode 23 of the 11FS Fintech Insider Breakfast Show. What we're going to be doing with the show each week is bringing you the best and the brightest around the fintech and banking landscape, because actually we just want to make everybody's day start a little bit better. The show this morning is brought to you by our good friends over at MyTech, who are providing tomorrow's identity verification for today's uncertainty, and their uncertainty there very much is right now. In this show today, I'm going to be joined by Ryan Joyce, who is the head of fintech for UK and Ireland over at Salesforce. We're going to be talking about what Salesforce is doing in the fintech space and how they're supporting communities with the technology that they've got. As always, folks, we love getting questions. So first up, let us know where you're coming in from, where you're watching this from this morning. But as we start going through, as you've got any questions for me or Ryan, drop them in the comments and I'll weave them into the commentary as well as we do. For those who don't know, Ryan, do you want to give us a bit of a background about Salesforce and then what you do over at Salesforce?
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Well, look, first, let me start by saying thank you, David. We're big fans of 11FS at Salesforce, and we've really enjoyed the breakfast show over the last few weeks. You've brought a much needed structure to our day and of everything happening in fintech. So that's really appreciated.
No problem.
But look, for those that don't know who Salesforce are, we're a CRM cloud-based company. We were founded in 1999. Our mission is to help our customers connect better with their customers. And as I'm sure we'll come on to talk about, we've made a lot of acquisitions over the last few years to really evolve from being a Salesforce automation player to providing a much broader platform. In terms of my own background, yes, I'm Ryan. I head up the fintech industry at Salesforce. I guess, I've probably worked at the intersection of financial services and technology for all of my career, spanning almost 15 years now. I worked at a couple of small companies. I was with IBM, and then I joined Salesforce 6 years ago. And it was really exciting middle of last year to get the opportunity to sit down with a few people and build a plan to build the first ever fintech dedicated team at Salesforce, which we launched on February 1st this year. So it's been really exciting.
That's awesome. As far as industries go to work in, fintech's a pretty damn good one, aren't you? So you're going to have a lot of colleagues, I reckon, jealous of the people you get to work with in this space, which is nice.
That's right. Well, hopefully they'll want to join us at some point.
Very good. So, you guys have been on a bit of a tear from an acquisitions perspective, Salesforce. Can you maybe expand out a little bit on those? Because, again, the sign of a successful company, you guys are pulling in different people who complete the different things that you're doing. Can you talk a little bit about some of the acquisitions?
Yeah, absolutely. And look, you're absolutely right. I think Salesforce has acquired over 60 companies in the last 20 years since we were founded. And as I said, there is sometimes a perception that we're just a Salesforce automation tool, but obviously we're much more than that. So the way we think about our platform as it relates to fintech, it really provides the opportunity to manage the customer journey end to end, and we break that down into kind of 3 sections. That's how we think about it. But at the front end, it's around customer acquisition. In the middle, it's about providing effortless scale around core processes. And then, the final piece we look at is data monetization. So if I think about that first section, customer acquisition, well, within that, fintech companies always, want to understand, right, how do I build and segment the right audiences? How do I track interactions online for my customers across any device, any channel? How do I drive personalization into the experience? How do I build an immersive mobile or e-commerce experience for my customers? So we've been making acquisitions in that space for a long time, dating back to Heroku, probably 7 or 8 years ago. More recently, Demandware, Datarama, and Evergage was a company that we acquired earlier this year. That middle piece, the effortless scale around core processes, that's really where a customer is engaged and going through the onboarding journey. They want a quick decision. They want to you're looking to originate a product, open an account, and provide great service throughout. Most of that's really driven on our core platform, our CRM core offering. And then the final piece, I think, for me is probably the most exciting, right? This is the secret sauce and the magic for most fintechs. But we acquired MuleSoft and we acquired Tableau in the last 2 years, and we paid upwards of 20 billion for both of those companies. And the way I think about it in the most simple terms is MuleSoft helps you get at the data, and then Tableau helps you turn that data into intelligence. So we're starting to have a lot of interesting conversations around, how do you get better at monetizing, taking the data that you've got to better inform the next decision or next action with a customer. How can you package up some of that data, turn it into insights, and maybe sell it back to the customer or provide it within a premium service, perhaps? And then I think it gets really interesting when you start to think about data sharing. And so, with the advent of open banking, which becomes open finance, companies want to share data between themselves and third parties to create new business models and great new customer experiences and customer offerings through a marketplace and through an ecosystem. So I think we've got a good story to tell there as well.
No, I can see that. I mean, like you say, CRM is part of the puzzle, isn't it? Getting everything in house and getting those things together. I know at 11FS we heavily use a CRM system to make sure that actually we understand what is within our remit, who are we working with, how are we working. But like you say, actually having CRM is one thing. Getting that information to people to allow them to make decisions better on a day-to-day basis is the critical thing, isn't it? So, like you say, MuleSoft and Tableau, really good investments. I mean, no small amounts of money changed hands there as well. 20 billion. That's a pretty big acquisition. But again, it shows the scale of Salesforce. In fact, actually, you guys have one of my favorite offices in London. Aside from the 11FS one, obviously, the aquarium in it. I often walk by. Me and my business manager Zoe often walk by and press ourselves against the window just to kind of look at the fish in the thing. But all right, we'll come back to that in 2 seconds.
That always winds up the security team.
I can imagine it does, yeah. Especially with this beard, I get some looks for sure.
The interesting thing is they send scuba divers into the fish tank to clean it out, and at Christmas they send them down in Santa outfits.
Do you know, I've never seen that. I need to get there for that. But we've got lots and lots of people joining from around the planet today, which is great. So morning to a few guys. Morning, Jess. Thank you for joining in. Morning, Marcin. 23rd good morning from Raul over in India. So Raul, you've been with us from show number 1, so thank you very much for joining us every morning. Nick Betts, Catherine, good morning. Alan, good morning. Lots and lots of people joining in. There's going to be some good questions coming. I'm sure, Ryan. There's a few now, but I'll save them for when we get into it. So Ryan, what are you doing to keep sane? I mean, these are kind of bizarre times. We're in the middle of what is it? Is this week 4 of lockdown now, or week 3? I'm sort of losing count.
It feels like week 10.
It does. How are you sort of keeping sane working from home?
I've got back into running outside. It's something I used to do a lot of, and kind of stopped doing it for some unknown reason a few years ago. And I live quite centrally in London. I'm not far from Tower Bridge, and the weather's been really nice. So I've been out most mornings running up the river, and the streets have been empty. So I kind of feel like I've had London to myself. But that's been nice. And I think the key learning for me is it really makes a difference on how you start the day, and if you can take an hour or an hour and a half to yourself to do something.
Yeah, I have. Okay. I think we've lost Ryan for 2 seconds, so we'll give him a couple of seconds to kind of get back in. I hope you guys are all okay at home. Do you know what? I found it really difficult this week. I'm gonna go on a personal trip here for this one. I'm finding myself more tired than sort of ever before on this one. It's quite bizarre that I feel like I'm commuting less, but I'm much more tired doing it. I've read a lot of things that have kind of gone out about it. Apparently, it's because we're having such a bad distinction between daytime and nighttime. I appreciate this is the guy who says this sat in a room with all of the curtains closed that actually doesn't give you any indication of whether it's daytime or nighttime outside. I assure you, in Norwich, it is still 8:30 in the morning. But it's a strange one. I don't know why. I don't know why I'm feeling so achy and so tired. So maybe it's a lack of sunlight. I need to kind of get out a little bit more. But Ryan, thanks for jumping back in. I mean, definitely running around London right now must be an experience because, like you say, I mean, I've seen a lot of pictures of people on places like Tower Bridge, and they are literally on Tower Bridge completely to themselves. But have you found that? Obviously, watching this show every morning at 8:30 as well. You know, that structure in the morning is giving you a nice start to the day.
That's it. Run from 7 till 8, watch the show, and then straight into work.
Well, it gives you motivation to really push yourself on the running as well to get back in time, which is good. So, how about from a company perspective? Obviously, you know, Salesforce, you guys are a digital company. How have you found working from home? Because I think all of us, you know, in the space that you know you are from being more of a digital organization. I think the first few weeks felt like actually normality. You know, we could do this. But actually, you know, even at 11FS right now, I'm missing my colleagues now. So being in a situation where you can do it because of all the technology, but actually, I know we have to, but I don't want to do this anymore. Like I kind of feel like it's the humans that you really start missing, isn't it?
Absolutely, yeah. Definitely missing the human contact. As you said, you know, the pivot in terms of remote working was fairly easy. We're 20 years old. We're sort of born in the cloud. We use our own technology, which is mobile enabled. We're a big partner of Google, and we use their Hangout suite and Gmail, and that's all been really easy. But it's quite hard to do business when you're not face to face with people, and you can't sit in a room and get around a whiteboard and think out loud. There's only so much you can do remotely. So yeah, we're kind of desperate to get back to work, but we're waiting to see what the government has to say in terms of the guidelines there.
Sounds good. Yeah, I mean, I'm not. I think we're expecting an imminent announcement, but I'm not very hopeful. If I'm honest with you, I mean, we're starting to see grass flattening, but not enough to allow us to head down to the pub. But so being in the fintech space, then Ryan, who are you working with? Because I mean, you've got I know Salesforce have got some pretty big clients across the board. There's a comment that's just come in through Andrew Turner on LinkedIn. Who's in the showcase? Who's the people who you can sort of share that you're working with right now?
Yeah, great question. So we've been involved in the fintech space for quite some time, and we've got some really nice established customers like eBri and Funding Circle and World Remit that are kind of household names in fintech and have been working with Salesforce kind of since the beginning, which is really humbling. In terms of kind of new exciting press releases, we're about to release some further information about work we've been doing with Pension Bee. For those that don't know, Pension Bee are reimagining the experience around how you interact with your pension and make it as seamless as an online banking experience. And they have over 250,000 customers now in the UK, and over 5 years they've helped them save over £1 billion by helping them better manage their pension online. And they're super successful. They're growing at 300% a year. So I guess the secret sauce for them has been building the Honeycomb app. This allows a user to go in real time to see the balance of their pension pot, to do transfers, contributions, to look at their payment stream in retirement. And they've had some great results. They on each user on average is logging in 3 times a week to check their pension. And I don't know about you, but I don't even check my pension 3 times a year. So that's been a breakthrough, and at the same time they feel like they claim by digitizing the pension process they've been able to reduce administration time by about 75%. So that mobile app is built on Salesforce and then surrounded by our technology to help support the sort of nurturing journeys around marketing campaigns and around the onboarding experience. And they use our technology for customer service and self-service as well. So it's a really great story around how you can use the platform end to end. And we're actually filming a short movie clip with them soon, which we'll be posting online in the next few months.
Awesome. Great team over at Pension Bee. Romy and the team do an amazing job of really solving a real problem for consumers. Like you say, I have no idea where my pensions are, let alone actually look at them. So I probably should take Romy up on that product pretty quickly. Few more sort of comments over on LinkedIn. Actually, I mean, more of a statement here. Jess, I'm not sure if I should read this one out or not, because I think you're going to make everybody jealous. But hello, David. I'm a founder of Crate Air Group from Mauritius Island. If you're going to be stuck anywhere in the world, Mauritius has got to be pretty up there on the list. So she says, thank you very much to Ryan for joining the show this morning. Ryan, you've got a request as well. A question. When are we going to be able to start exploring Salesforce's products in the African region? So sounds like you've got some global expansion opportunities there if people are kind of wanting the products to come down to Africa in more full of effect.
I am always happy to go down to Mauritius if that's where the opportunity is.
Sounds like a great opportunity, doesn't it?
Yeah, look, we do have a big footprint in Africa already. If I think about, Absa Bank and Standard Chartered are huge customers of Salesforce and have done a lot of innovation with the platform. We actually had the COO from Absa fly to London last year and speak to the UK banking community about how they're sort of managing their customer journey end to end. So I'm surprised to hear that we're not covering Jess or whoever asked that question in Africa. But if you want to drop me a line afterwards, we'll connect you with the right people.
Sounds good. Jess, if you get in touch with Ryan, he can give you a bit more understanding of where to go on that one. So I guess on the home working then, other than the sort of running and sort of engaging online side of things, what else have you been doing to sort of keep sane? I mean, from my perspective, I'm finding that the hardest thing is that decompression between work and reality, I guess. I think we all used to have a bit of a commute at least to try and sort of decompress from that time. And actually, I mean, outside that door, I've got 2 children who are, boundless energy, but it's really difficult to kind of match the being dad and needing at least 3 seconds to kind of take my breath back before I sort of switch my hat type thing. Are you finding that too, Ryan? Is it the gap between work life and life is increasingly thin?
Yeah, it's blurred, and that's why I try to do something, first thing in the morning, to kind of provide some separation between getting up and then starting the working day, and then something at the end of the day as well. So yeah, beyond just running, I've been reading a lot more and I've been spending a lot more time doing kind of mindfulness stuff. We're very lucky that our CEO moved quite quickly to make sure that the community was looked after at Salesforce. And we've had a number of online webinars, and we've had access to some Deepak Chopra 21-day trial course online. So yeah, I've been actually trying my hand at some of that stuff, and it does genuinely help and makes an impact.
It's funny, isn't it? You don't have to believe in some things if you do them to get the benefit, right? You don't have to understand why they work, but they definitely do work. So, and I guess, Ryan, from a customer perspective, how are you seeing their needs shifting? I mean, obviously, from a sales and understanding sales perspective, then probably the sort of forensic level most organizations are needing to go into of where they are on a day-to-day basis, and actually what they can do to they've got 2 things, probably one of them less in control than the other one. They can reduce their costs probably more effectively, but actually being really effective at actually increasing revenue in this period. You guys kind of fall fully in the square of helping them with that right now.
Yeah, I guess so. And I think the first thing is we've tried to approach this whole thing with a sense of empathy, because each customer is unique and has their own specific situation. And I think there have genuinely been kind of winners and losers as a result of this in the fintech space. I think that those companies that run online trading platforms and investment platforms have seen a real spike in volumes and revenue. Any payments companies that are tied to e-commerce are probably doing quite well right now. And then I think kind of the lending space is really interesting because the demand is going to be higher than ever from small businesses and from consumers, but the supply isn't necessarily there. And, we're all worried about whether credit seizes up. So I guess if I distill it down to the sort of three things that we're helping on most at the moment, it's actually helping our customers care for their customers. So, first, we've had a lot of requests around customer communication. So using, the right tools to get outbound comms to customers, sure, but also social listening to get, a read on like the sentiment around your brand and whether there are any sort of complaints or issues kind of circulating online. Secondly, has been all about getting service teams and contact centers enabled remotely. So fintechs are in quite a strong position usually, but there have been, a couple of customers that have needed hand-holding and have needed to pivot quickly to some different technologies to make that happen. And then I think the third piece is around CBILS specifically. We've all seen the stuff in the news about, tens of thousands of applications and inquiries have not been processed yet. And we've moved quite quickly with one or two of the larger players in the high street banking space. And hopefully you'll see a press release from us next week. But they have not been able to reconfigure their existing process and technology quick enough to underwrite these new loans. So they're actually standing up new platforms in many cases to get that going.
Isn't that amazing? I think those organizations have probably known that technology that they had in place couldn't do these things for such a long period of time, but the demands on them have never been such that they really could justify the investment. When it comes to we stop a business and can't do what the government is asking us to do, then they really have to jump at doing it. I had this conversation. There's a half-written blog post which I'll get around to finishing at some point, which is what are the variables that drive change? And actually, this hasn't been a money problem with big organizations. It probably hasn't been a sponsorship problem if actually you put the argument forward correctly. If anything, it's just been an urgency issue. My argument is, I think I titled it, "Look, we didn't need more strategy, did we?" Because essentially people knew the things that they should do, but they need almost the permission in there by those organizations to actually make those things happen. But the fact that now so many organizations are building something on the side because it's cheaper for them to stand up a new system with today's technology than it is to actually try and reinvest in the spaghetti that they've got in the back there to either cleanse the data or present it up I just think is an astonishing thing. It's a shame that it took a pandemic for people to really sort out these processes, isn't it? Some interesting questions on LinkedIn if we go back to them. So one from Dharmesh. Ryan, been big user of Salesforce for a long time. Are you guys a little bit more focused on bigger organizations, or are you focusing more and more into startups?
Yeah, it's a great question. We actually started life just working with startups and small to mid-sized tech companies in San Francisco 20 years ago. A lot more of what you've seen in the press over the last few years might be these large kind of enterprise relationship stories, but we have a team focused on the startup space, which we call Velocity, and within my team in fintech, this is a huge focus area for us. So we're really looking to kind of contribute and almost like volunteer and give back to the fintech ecosystem to really help new founders. We've had some really positive engagement with Techstars, with London and Partners, with Accenture's FinTech Lab, and it's given us a platform to work with founders right at the early stages. There's really nothing in it for us at this moment in time, but just to kind of support and give them access to people and network them into people that we're already working with elsewhere in the industry. And that's been really rewarding, and we want to see that continue and do more and more with the startup community for sure.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because as now the scale of the business you can start to do those things, can't you? From 11FS's perspective, we try and do a similar thing. We will work with big tier one banks to do things, but equally we'll dramatically cut what we're doing and the way in which we do it to make sure that actually we're supporting startups of all sizes as well. But it's an interesting one, isn't it? Because you never really know how any of those things are really sort of going to play out in terms of what you're doing. You're almost you're there when small organizations are sort of being born, really, aren't you? Which is exciting / terrifying in some instances. But question here from Howard Moore. So Howard's the COO over at Zoopla. Said, can you talk a little bit more about Plug and Play, the data solutions, the acquisitions have enabled you to bring to market? So, I mean, are you, I guess, in the back office of Salesforce, somebody's looking at how these acquisitions all get integrated into your offering to the consumer, essentially, right?
Yeah, it's a really good question. So, Brett Taylor, who was our Chief Product Officer and is now our COO, when he joined 2 or 3 years ago, his big mission was to kind of better wire in and integrate the products that Salesforce owned and what make up the customer success platform. And I think the acquisition of MuleSoft has been a real accelerant for that. And then if I think about how we integrate with third parties, then we have the App Exchange, which is one of the largest and most successful B2B commercial app stores. And MuleSoft brings its own kind of library of connectors as well, called API Connect. So between those two things, we see a lot of opportunities to do more in that space. And actually many fintechs have wanted to build their offering either on the platform or at least host it in the marketplace so that they can integrate well with our core suite. So a classic example of that is, if I think about sort of payments and finance companies like Adyen and PayPal and Go Cardless, they are all integrated with the Salesforce platform, particularly around our e-commerce and billing solutions, because every time we do a new project for, say, Adidas, it creates an environment for them to go and sell their service as well. So that ecosystem and that network effect is critical to us.
Yeah, definitely. And as you say, the big organizations and those guys seeing that benefit, these small organizations, have got a best practice, a pattern to kind of follow to get them to similar successes at that stage, which is a good thing for those guys to kind of aspire to, isn't it? So, I mean, I don't want to just sound like I'm sending you to far-flung places here, but there's another request. Okay, so you from Tim over in Australia. Who do you guys work with out in Australia right now? Is there an opportunity for you guys to be doing more work? I mean, when the travel ban is lifted, Ryan, it looks like you're off to Mauritius and you're off to Australia at this point. So you got to be careful what you do on a morning, haven't you? You get signed up to do all these things.
One ticket, trip, brilliant. Look, we have a big offices in Australia, one in Sydney, one in Melbourne, and a big financial services team there as well. To be honest, I haven't got huge visibility of our fintech community there. I know we've done an exciting project with TikTok Loans recently, and we helped them originate a mortgage in, I think it was 21 minutes, down from 21 days. And that's generated a lot of publicity in the Australian market. So happy to connect you with the right people and share more about what we're doing for sure.
I think it's really interesting. I think you guys will see a very similar pattern that we do, which is small startups coming in, scaling to big organizations, scaring the incumbents into changing, and then the incumbents and the startups being threatened by really, really small startups. And that cycle is an amazing thing because all of those organizations benefit. But the people who really benefit at the end of it is competition being created for the customer, which is an amazing thing to see in all of these regions. Australia is definitely in the mix of that right now. So I think you'll, post COVID, then start planning those trips, Ryan. I think it's the only good thing to do. All right, guys. Well, we're probably going to be coming to the top of the hour right now, so we should trundle off and get on with our days. Ryan, thank you so much for joining us this morning, getting up early and spending some time with us after your run. Go have a shower now, my friend. Where can people find out more about you and the good work that you're doing over at Salesforce?
Yeah, sure. So just grab me on LinkedIn. I think you tagged my profile in the invite for today's session. And we're actually in the midst of running a set of webinars to kind of bring our community closer together. So yesterday we had Nutmeg speaking about customer service. Next week we've got a couple of webinars with New Day and possibly Ebury speaking. So yeah, ping me directly, and happy to field any questions and obviously share with you the community things that we're doing at the moment across fintech.
Sounds awesome. I mean, I think we're going to be doing these shows for quite some time, Ryan. So hopefully you'll come back and hang out again on another morning.
I'd love to. Thanks,
Awesome.
David.
All right, guys, that's all we have for you today then. Have a great day, everybody. Stay safe. We will be back on Monday morning, where we're going to be having Mike Kelly from Curl back with a bit of an update on what's happening with the Save My Local project. If you've not had enough of me today, I'm going to be doing a Rock the Floor session, which is 11FS used to do these internally for just for our staff to highlight subject matter that we're particularly interested in. Today, it's my turn. It'll be at 1 p.m. It's going to be a webinar format. If you head over to my LinkedIn profile, there's a link to go and sign up for that. But yeah, 1 p.m. today, I'm going to be talking about everything you need to do to ensure that actually you've got a great culture in your company, and just telling you what we've been doing at 11FS. If there's anything else you'd like to discuss in the show, I think we're good for the next month on guests, given the amount of people that we've got coming through. But if there's anybody else you want us to talk to, if there's anybody else that should be seeing this, tag them in the comments and we'll get to it. In fact, Ryan, what I'd suggest doing, some really, really good comments all the way through. Make sure you jump on the comments and go through those and answer everybody who's been asking you to go to all these far-flung places. Again, Ryan, thank you very much for joining me this morning.
Thank you, David. Really appreciate it.
And to everybody else, stay safe, and I will see you on Monday. Thank you very much. Bye.
Thank you.